All men are geeks. Stop denying it, you bastards. And some of us are tabletop role-playing game geeks.
That was weird. My browser failed to play this one video. It is lame. What the hell? Let me try it again.
All men are geeks. Stop denying it, you bastards.
There
and
we
some
go.
of us are tabletop role-playing game geeks. Join us for some non-SJW, non-woke, non-PC bullshit, old-school advanced Dungeons & Dragons. At least once per month, sometimes twice, we get together with Dungeon Master Rollo Tomasi and Drew Bay for some dice slinging in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. If you're tired of the woke assholes that abound in tabletop gaming, these sniveling, overly sensitive, easily offended dipshits, then be sure to tune into Masculine Geek Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. We're not politically correct. We're raw, unfiltered, and uncensored Dungeons & Dragons gamers. Get on board, pussies. We're making history. No broads allowed. Get your own game, ladies. Spurgs and tards need not apply.
That's right. All right, everyone. Welcome to an MG Rogue broadcast. This is the Christmas Eve 2024 episode. I really had no intentions of doing a broadcast this year, unlike previous years around Christmas time. But Robert convinced me to do otherwise. So this is all his fault. So welcome, everyone. Jack, AJ, thank you for accepting the invitation. As always, a pleasure to see you both.
A small effort. I was up anyway. I mean, why not?
Well, of course, you're Santa's favorite elf, Jack. I mean, how could you not be up at this time of hour?
It is true. We even have second Christmas Day.
You do? When's that?
That is what you would call Boxing Day.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what Canadians would call Boxing Day.
Yeah.
We Americans don't mess with that nonsense.
The Brits do it too. The Brits
well,
do it
of course, because they're Canadian. Well, the Canadians are Brits, except for those that are French, which that's a whole other mess.
Canada is a loft above a really cool party.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what that is.
Well, Governor Trudeau may soon welcome the United States in his backyard when they annex it. So
I don't know how serious all that. It's definitely a funny troll at the very
yeah, it's hilarious.
And he's talking about invading Mexico.
Yeah, and the Panama Canal,
and taking back the Panama Canal.
And we're about to take vengeance on the Danes. We're going to take Greenland from the Danes.
Yeah, Iceland. He wants to take Iceland or Greenland, whatever.
Greenland.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Greenland is icy and Iceland is green.
Greenland, yep.
Yeah.
My dad told me that.
The Vikings did that on purpose to
confuse you.
And yeah. You're looking good, Robert.
Yeah, keep the Danes out.
Well, thank you.
Fuck with the Danes.
I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got to kind of mind my time. Youngest is still up because we just got back from a family Christmas dinner. And so I've got to, the only meal I had today was the Christmas dinner because I knew I was going to have a lot of really good food. And so I was pacing myself and also keeping some control over my caloric intake. And so anyway, but
good.
Yeah, but at some point this evening, there will be a glass of milk over ice and some really good cookies, sugar cookie and gingerbread.
You have to do your duty as Santa.
Yes. Also, I had double duty because I also have to pull reindeer duty and eat a portion of a carrot. So anyway, the things you do when you're a dad.
Right.
One day, some of you guys will find that out. I know others won't, but
yeah, I'm sure. Shit.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I'm still not sure yet. Like I just don't know. I really don't know. Like there have been women whom I have loved to have kids with. They were really there, but then like it ended for whatever reason, and you got at a certain point you just go kind of like, you know what? Maybe it's just not in the cards. And I do love the single life. Like I have a bit of a stomach flu right now, and I was up at like 1:30.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't imagine what that would have been like if I had a girlfriend, where it's like me walking around the house and doing shit and blah, blah, blah. Like I can just imagine her being like, "What are you doing? Get back to bed, bed." And I'm kind of like, I'm actually pretty happy I'm single right now.
Well, the thing is, she also, it could be that, yes. It also could be she will be blissfully sleeping, unaware of your suffering. So,
That would be
and
nice.
not really caring.
That was
one
me
way
3
or
years
another.
ago when I had the beer bug and I was still with my ex. I was sitting here Christmas week, like sweating my ass off with a fever of 103, and she didn't care one bit.
Yeah. Now,
Well,
I've had some that have definitely done the mothering thing when I've been ill, which just usually irritates me because I go into my bear mode and kind of growl more than normal, and kind of try to chase them off. But
Yeah, I hibernate too when I'm sick.
Yeah, but going back to what I said about Vince, I absolutely get why Vince is a lifetime bachelor, a committed bachelor. Have absolute mad respect for that. But I also think Vince would have made a really cool dad, because I especially for boys. I absolutely think, had you met the woman that's like, okay, I'll breed with you, that you would have been an exemplary parent, because I think you have, the mistakes other kinds of parents make, and to have a son come to you for wisdom, I think would have been really illuminating for him, and I think you would have probably enjoyed the gig. But I would never ever diminish your choice or disrespect your choice, because I totally get that. But I just know that had you chose another path, you would have. I think you would have done a really cool job of it.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I've always, and I've mentioned this before, my thought about children was, and still is, if I have them, that's fine. If I don't, that's also fine. I never had, because I know there's some guys like, oh yeah, I wanted to do certain things, but I always knew I wanted to be a father, and I get that. I will never shit on that. That was never a burning desire of mine. If that makes any sense, it was just never there.
It makes a lot of sense. I have the same thing where it's like, I don't mind kids. I think kids are pretty cool. And I do not believe that there are shitty children. I believe there are shitty parenting.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the same as a dog, like, oh, what a terrible dog. It's like, no, he had terrible training. It's the owner. It's the same as with parents and kids. But like, it's not that I have that innate urge to be like, I need to be a parent to have succeeded in life. Where it's like, no, not really. No, I've made my dent into the universe, though a small one. I have made it. So yeah, but I mean, maybe I'll find a big-breasted, thin-waisted blonde who's like, Napier, I need to have your kids, and I will ride you to glory, backwards and forwards, sideways and frontwards, whatever. And I'll be like, you know what? This could work out. But so far, it's been like, I don't know. Plus, I'm a selfish bastard.
We need to drop ship Jack into like Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln, Nebraska. Is that where
That's
the Lincoln chair comes from? Is where the Lincoln chairs come from?
No, not the Lincoln chairs, but that's where all those thin-waisted, big, corn-fed, tittied blondies would be at.
It's Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Thou shalt post the F trophies for internet strangers and then complain that the strangers abuse your photos.
That's right.
That's such garbage.
Yeah, that's funny because I had someone comment because they had seen a glimpse of I had posted a picture of me in my TIE Pilot gear, and it was I had the Star Wars chessboard in front of me, the one from the Millennium Falcon, and I had some games in the background, shoulder folder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you guys have all seen it. And anyway, someone else within the RPG community saw it and were like, oh my God. They were like reading some of the board games that were in the background of the picture. So the other day I posted a picture of the game rooms that take up the entryway to part of the downstairs of the home of Castle Kuzland. And the person responded like, holy friggin' crap. It's like, will you adopt me?
I just want to spend a weekend or a week in Robert's house and play games.
Yeah. But so anyway, that was kind of funny. But the thing is, I'd made a comment in the picture that I had to move some things around because I flipped up a couple of games because I've got pictures of my kids and grandkids at various places on the walls. And, I don't even want a picture of my kid in the background of a picture of me or a picture of like the Christmas tree being shown because no one needs to see that. I got 2 grown kids. Well, 3 really. I've got one that's 36 now, and then the other one who's in his mid-20s. And, if they want to post something of themselves on social media, that's all on them. But I've still got a minor child, and I'm not about to share his picture, and I'm not inclined to share pictures of my older sons when they were younger, because especially not just for anyone on Twitter or something. It's just, and I don't get the guys that do that. I mean, I'm very proud of being a father. I mean, I've got 4 sons by 3 different women, so I'm no Andrew Tate, but that's not
close enough.
Yeah. So I mean,
good enough for government work,
right? But as far as
your Bugatti,
yeah, I could probably sell my collection and buy a McLaren pretty easily.
Robert.
Yes. Oh, very nice.
I pulled it from a pack.
That is awesome.
and that's when you did the unboxing, right?
Well, no, unfortunately, when I did it live, I pulled jack fuck all shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 3 packs left. Because it was on my bucket list to get this from the original Japanese, by the way, from a booster pack. Because I never pulled it as a kid. So it was kind of like it was a hard journey. I knew what I was getting into. These booster packs are insanely expensive. And I knew it was a 1 in 36 chance of pulling it. Which, I mean, aren't the worst of odds, but it's still expensive. And after I did the unboxing live with Rob, I had those 3 packs left. And I was like, you know what? I'm never going to pull it anyway. So who cares? Just open them up. 2nd pack. Boom.
There you go.
It was right there. I emailed the seller, like, are these packs real? He's like, yeah, why? So I looked at his eBay credentials. He's been active on eBay for 10 years. He's had thousands of sales. He's had plenty of positive reviews. It's like, I know it's legit. It's real.
If you got that PS10 rated, it's
no,
fucking 120 grand. If you do get it rated.
Yeah, isn't that the first edition? The English one?
First edition. Yeah, first edition Japanese PSA 10 is 120,000.
Really?
Yeah. You have to pay your $15 to get that rated. I'm looking at it right now.
Wait, $120,000?
Yeah, for Pokemon Japanese base set Holo Charizard 1996 PSA 10 is $119,555 on eBay right now.
What the fuck? My God.
Wait, that can't be right. Japanese base set Charizard.
That's
PSA
a lot of money.
10. Well, don't tell anyone. Shit. Oh, well, I guess that secret's out.
I'm going to the Netherlands. I need a team.
We're gonna rob Jack.
No, that is.
And Robert just sits back here and looks at his Black Lotus card from Magic the Gathering.
Oh yeah, you have the Black Lotus.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, AJ, can you send me?
It's the revised one, so it's the one with the white border, not the one with the black border. So
Okay, that's still worth
I'll send it. I'll send it.
Yeah, send me the link on that one because, like, I know the first edition, the real first edition, is a hell of a lot of money. Like that is a hell of a lot of money. But like I see here, the 9.5 Beckett, Japanese 1996. That's only 2,800. That's not that much. Oh, and now I see one for 10K
for a cardboard card.
Yeah. So here's one. This one is PSA 10 1996. That's the one I have for 9,600.
That's still pretty penny.
Yeah, but I have to get it graded.
Oh, yeah. Nate Dogg is calling you out, Robert. What the hell? Your nerd cred is now minus.
Well,
1.
I never played Magic the Gathering. I just know there are 2 Black Lotus cards. There's one with a black border and one with white border, because even in Knights of the Dinner Table, which Vince reads, they had a whole running joke there for a while about one of those cards that people were taking black markers to ink the white borders black. So I don't know if the edition was called revised or not, because I never played Magic the Gathering. I played real games like Dungeons and Dragons.
All right, well, your nerd cred is intact. Hush, Nate Dogg, hush.
What?
Yeah.
How?
My younger brothers played Magic the Gathering, and one of my brothers at one point in time, I think, had all of the, I don't know, what is it, 5 forbidden cards or 8 forbidden cards that are forever banned from Magic the Gathering, or whatever their nonsense is. I've never liked Wizards of the Coast, even when they just did Magic. So I didn't like them when they were doing Magic, and I definitely don't like them when they were ruining D&D. So.
But why would they color
Nate
the
Dogg
borders?
is definitely a Magic the Gathering fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why would you color
cool.
the borders? Isn't every Black Lotus like worth a fortune? Even
well, but the thing is, it's the difference between like a first print and a second print, I guess. So
yeah, probably, yeah. Like,
so the one with the black border, I believe, is the one that's worth the most. So guys would take a marker trying to make. Yeah. So, like I said, I was too old for Magic the Gathering, just like I was too old for Power Rangers. You know, I was a grown ass man when Power Rangers aired. So, and had already been watching the original Japanese Super Sentai. So, yeah. So my kids, yeah, that was my kids' era of stuff. Because
one of my childhood friends, his older half brother got into Magic right when it first came out, and he actually had Black Lotus on him, and I had it in my hands. So I have had it. Never owned one, but I've had it in my hands. And
yeah, is the white border rare as well, or was that mass printed?
Well, it's rare in that was the last time Black Lotus, I guess, was printed, because it was banned not long after that. So, but I don't know if it was beta or unlimited. I don't know what the last edition was that printed a Black Lotus card. Apparently, Nate would probably be able to tell us that, since he's our resident Magic the Gathering guy. But speaking of someone who did something really, really cool, Noble posted probably one of the best tweets I think I've ever read on Twitter. And I mean, it was like scholarly, and it was masterful how he was able to do that within the context of a tweet and put guys like Dr. Jordan Peterson and the like to absolute shame. It was pure brilliance. I would love to see him either expand upon that in a fictional setting, or actually write out an academic paper with citations and everything else, because I think it would be bloody brilliant, and it's something that needs to be said. So bravo. Cheers to you, Noble. That was an amazing post. And you know the one I'm talking about.
I'm guessing it's the one about the conversion of the Northern European races to Christianity.
Absolutely.
So, credit where it's due. I started thinking about that when I was listening to a Dan Carlin hardcore history podcast. He did a series, I think it was called like either Thor's Angels or something like that. I don't know. But he talked about how as the Roman Empire was starting to decay, and I may be misspeaking here. I mean, you talk about how this needs to be a paper. I should probably research it and talk more credibly on the subject. But he talked about how, like the Nordic people, for example, would, when the Christian missionaries came to kind of convert them, they would imagine, they would kind of blend Thor and Jesus together, and they had this idea in their head of Jesus being this great warrior figure, and I think one of the things that we're lacking in modern Christianity, whether it's Catholicism or even Orthodoxy, and certainly in the American popular evangelical Protestantism, is that militant mindset, that masculine,
a warrior
kind of,
priest.
Don't talk shit about my religion because I will beat your ass for it type attitude. And we don't do that anymore. And
no, it's all this turn the other cheek bullshit.
When people ask me, well, what kind of Christian are you? I'm like, well, I'm a Davidic Christian, and nobody knows what that means because I made it up. And so they're like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, well, the Bible is extremely explicit about the lineage of Jesus Christ. And, obviously he's the son of God, but both of his earthly parents were descended from the line of David, both Mary and Joseph. Now, that doesn't mean it was incestuous. Why is that? Well, because David had hundreds of wives and concubines, and Solomon had even more, like his son. So and they were both warrior kings. They conquered the infidels all up and down the Middle East, and they didn't take any shit from anybody, and they enjoyed the company of many, many women. And so I'm like, okay, that's a biblical figure that I can relate to. And seeing as how there's a very clear message in the Bible that Christ is descended from what was Israel's greatest king, and that those were the traits that he possessed. I'm sure that's why the Northern European tribes kind of latched onto that persona of Christianity, and the idea that, okay, we're taking these guys that have this great pagan tradition, and everybody talks about that, like around Christmas, for example. Well, you guys are just ripping off a pagan holiday. Okay, so what? That's what makes it great. That's the idea, was that Christianity came in and was adopted by all of these cultures. It wasn't that Christianity stole the notion of the winter solstice holiday, or whatever you want to call it. It was that the people that were celebrating this holiday pulled Christianity into it. So it was almost like the cultural appropriation, to use a modern term, went the other way around. And so that's what made the holiday a Christian holiday. It wasn't because Christianity usurped it. It was because the people who were already celebrating the holiday decided, hey, let's make this a Christian holiday instead. And so that's what, that's kind of the point that I was trying to get to with all of that, is that was where, in my opinion, and I'm not I'm only what you would call a rookie historian. That was where Christianity really peaked, was when the Northern European tribes kind of picked up on it, and then they just started using it as kind of the operating system for their entire civilization.
I was gonna say the Teutonic Order were pretty based back in the day.
Yeah, they were. I mean, you look at the Justinian and the whole Holy Roman Empire. I mean, those guys were all, that was the Western Empire that kind of continued as Rome began to decay. That was all because of these guys came from a line of people that were very militant. So even as the Romans got soft, and there's all kinds of theories about that. My old man used to tell me, and I think it's true, is that as much as they advanced, and you can talk about their moral decay and whatnot, but he believes, and I believe, that they really started to lose their minds because of all the lead in the water, because of the plumbing that they were using. And that made them soft in the head. So, to use my dad's terminology,
soft in the head.
Well,
Pleasure
even
to
look
meet
at
you,
guys
by
like
the way, Roman. Don't
Yeah.
think we've met.
Oh,
Sorry?
Noble. It's Noble. This is Jack.
Noble.
Jack, this is Noble. You guys kind of know each other just by dint of Twitter.
We do. I've seen Noble on Twitter. He's got an
play-
awesome samurai suit.
Exactly, and he plays in our D&D games.
Wow. A pleasure
So
to
that's-
meet you, sir.
likewise. Yeah, that's actually not my suit. So there's a story there. I don't know if you guys want me to tell it. I feel like
No,
I've
go ahead.
been
Please
rapping
do.
for a while.
That's what we're here for.
So when I went to Japan earlier this year, it was my honeymoon, and I'm a big Japanophile, especially with the regards to the Edo area. Again, a culture that kind of appeals to me. Great warlords that had dozens of concubines, that kind of thing.
Mm.
And we, on the it was the last day we were there. We were in Osaka, and I had paid and reserved for the two of us, my wife and I, this class on how to properly use a katana, Now, obviously, it's like a 2 or 3 hour class, so you're not going to be like an expert swordsman afterwards. But I figure, I have all these katanas that I collect around my house. I'm going to learn how to at least get the basics down, like how to properly draw and sheathe the sword, how to hold it, how to swing it. And this guy was like hardcore into Bushido. I can, if you guys are interested in the reaching out to him, if you're going to be in Japan, I'll post. He's on Twitter. And we get there, and I hadn't paid for anything more than just the basic course, right? Now they have a whole thing where he'll spend all day with you if you want to learn calligraphy, if you want to dress up as a samurai using the old armor, and he'll even walk you through Osaka Castle in full armor. And I'm like, I don't need to LARP that much. I just want to learn how to swing the sword. And so I get there, but when I get there, he's got a reporter for the Mainichi Times, which is like a big newspaper in Japan. And this lady is there, and she's interviewing us as, tourists coming in to take this class, and interviewing this guy. And she's got a photographer, and the guy's like, hey, will you guys put the armor on for us? And I'm like, I didn't pay for the armor. And he's like, no, but it would be good for us to have the paper take your picture in the armor, so don't worry about that, just put the armor. I'm like, okay, great. So I didn't really intend to dress up as a samurai that day, but I was asked to by the sensei, and I would be rude to say no. So I did, and we got some really excellent pictures out of it. So
yeah, you did. That was cool.
That's pretty awesome, actually. How long did you stay in Japan for the honeymoon?
I was there for 9 days, and then after that, I had another 4 days in Thailand. We were on the island of Koh Samui for. We actually have very good friends who got married there, so nice. We sort of dovetailed our honeymoon with their wedding.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Sounds like it.
I need to travel more. That might be one thing.
I tell you what, your dollar goes a long way in most other countries.
Oh, that's true. Unfortunately, I have the euro, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I didn't know where you were. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Don't worry.
But the euro probably does pretty. Actually, I'm sure the euro is not far behind, because on the way home. So I'll just tell this other story. So when I'm looking for return flights from Thailand, flying out of Bangkok, all the flights going into the US, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so I'm close to the West Coast. So I would come into either LA, San Francisco, or Seattle. And everything was landing at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and would require like a 7 or 8 hour, 9 hour, 10 hour layover, some of them, to before you could transfer to Phoenix. There's no direct flight. And I'm looking at it like, this is going to suck. I don't want to spend 7 hours in LAX, right? Because I've been to LA 100 times. Like, it's no big deal. And San Francisco's a shithole, and Seattle's nice, but, not worth staying overnight. And so I keep scrolling through all the flights on Expedia or whatever. And then I find another one. They start going down to, like, if you get a slightly longer flights, they have flights that are going the other way around the globe. And they'll stop over in either London or Paris. And I'm like, well, I've never been to Paris. It's my honeymoon. That's supposed to be a romantic city, right? So, I asked the wife, I'm like, hey, how would you like to stretch the trip out another day? And we'll have a day in Paris, And so we did that. We landed in Paris, it was early in the morning. And we saw, the Eiffel Tower and a bunch of other stuff. I walked around some places where Hemingway used to hang out. I wanted to see the grave of Lafayette, but couldn't get in there. It was closed. So Lafayette was one of the great founding fathers of our country. But yeah, we had a good time there. But that was the most expensive part of the trip. Like, Paris was filthy expensive compared to Tokyo, Kyoto.
You didn't have to say
Osaka.
Expensive. All you had to say was Paris was filthy.
Yeah,
it was filthy too.
Both.
It was
both.
Paris, well, and we picked a really shitty time to go because it was less than a month before the Olympics when we landed there.
Man.
And so everything was closed, all the streets, traffic. It took me almost 2 hours to get from the airport to where our hotel was, which is within view of the Eiffel Tower.
You know what the worst part is, Nolan? That might have been the cleanest you would have ever seen Paris a month before the Olympics, because they cleaned up, and that's
kind of what I was hoping. But the traffic, negated any joy I would have had out of the cleanliness of the city.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's
no. Paris is known for its absolute garbage traffic.
My former Spanish colleagues, they were Spaniards. They always say there's not very many Parisians left in Paris. Stay out of there.
It started back when I was there in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Used to call them gypsies, and they would predominantly prey on American tourists or any tourists really.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't give them, they knew you had money. If you didn't give them enough, like if we were begging, you're like, and you didn't realize that like they were a thing here, a fixture. Like, oh, this person, this woman she looks homeless. You give her some money. If you didn't give her enough money, she would start screaming at you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, get the fuck out of here before I punch your face.
Yeah,
I'm in another country. I don't care. I'll punch you the fuck out.
Yeah. It was bad even when we were there. The entirety of the Eiffel Tower itself, for example, is surrounded by African immigrants that are selling you cheap knockoff tchotchkes and whatnot.
They try to put shit on your wrist and then make you pay for it. Like
and I'm just like
bands and shit.
I was literally in Tokyo, and we were going to nightclubs there because we were there a couple nights, and they treat you like royalty in Japan. They love Americans over there. It's when they say that the Japanese don't like the foreign tourists, they're really talking about the Chinese. They can't stand those guys.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
But like I felt like a rock star there. I would walk up to a nightclub that would have a line out the door, and they would wave me to the front, and then I'd go to pay my cover, and they'd be like, no cover for you. You come on in.
Oh, I gotta go here. That's awesome.
Because they treat you like you're the best thing ever, and I think it's because they know you're not an asshole. But they just love Americans. Like everywhere we went, they
love our culture. Yeah,
I want to go Route 66, and I would like.
Yeah, they used to, especially in the 80s and 90s. They loved Levi's jeans.
Hey, that's what you get for nuking them twice.
They
know better.
Levi's jeans. Yeah.
I don't know, but like I was literally in one of these neighborhoods where we went because I was looking up these nightclubs on like Google Maps and stuff, which was great because you don't have to speak the language. Google will translate it for you. And so I'm looking at the stuff that like the locals like. Well, I get into this one neighborhood, and we walk through this it feels like an alley, and there's all these Yakuza guy there, and they're Yakuza because they have all the tattoos and shit. And they look like in the movies, but they're not as badass in the movies. They're kind of short, they're kind of fat. And I'm just like, and I did not feel at risk at all. Like I'm walking around, and I usually have like the resting thug face, because I'm like
you can step on these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like totally cool. They were like, hey, how you doing? They love Americans over there. I did not feel
cool
at any point anywhere in Japan, and I was in all of their big cities. I did some small cities, but I did Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. Mm-hmm. And nowhere did I feel unsafe. And I was going off the beaten path everywhere. I didn't have a guided tour. I booked all my own stuff.
You just wandered around.
I just wandered all over the fucking place.
That's the way to do it. That's awesome.
And if you're a guy like Noble, who is, pretty bright, knows some things about the culture, respects the culture, and make any kind of minimal effort, it goes a long way. You would not imagine how much not smelling strongly anything and being polite will get you very far in Japan in dealing with people.
Yeah,
because they do not like strong smells. Even you don't want to bath.
Yeah, don't have body odor.
Yeah, and they're very clean. And as you guys all know, I talk a lot to several Japanese collectors, friends and acquaintances over there. I mean, half my post on Twitter in Japanese and the other half in English. Mm-hmm. But we commiserate quite a bit privately about the fact that a lot of them collect the Mythic Legion Medieval Knight action figures that I do, and of course, they're paying the yen to dollar rate, which is huge in our favor at the moment. So they are paying like 3 or 4 times for things that I am here. And then, of course, I collect all that stuff from Japan. And I'm like paying, it almost seems, and this is only a slight exaggeration, pennies on the dollar on this stuff. Because I'll buy 400 or 4,000 yen worth of stuff, or 40,000 yen worth of stuff, and we're only talking, instead of 100 to 1, 100 yen to $1, I'm paying like my $1 buying me a 150 yen worth of stuff or more, and it's just crazy. So I'm buying all this Japanese stuff really, really inexpensively, and these poor guys are like killing themselves doing it. So with a couple of them, I'm like, dude, let me buy this thing for you, and I will send it to you. And I am interested in these things, and you can send them to me, and we'll just trade. And and of course there are a couple of guys that I'm close enough with that I send presentos of little American things to them, because I can buy this Marvel action figure on clearance for like $5-10, whereas they would be spending the equivalent of like $30-40 American to get it, plus the shipping. And I just send it to them, and it's like, it just being a decent human being and polite. It's just amazing. Japan is so great.
And that was the thing, is like, if you were polite and generous there, like, they don't have a big, tipping culture. And so we wouldn't tip unless, like, I would almost ask, like, is it okay if I, you know what I mean? Like, because it's not really a thing over there. But like, you talk about the price of things. So to give you an example, like, the like the mangas that they all like to read, that like One Piece. So Sarah Beth has a friend whose son is really into One Piece, and we bought her son one while we were over there in some comic store. I mean, it's thick. It's like a big thing, and it was one of the new ones. Now, how much would you think that would cost in the U.S., like a Japanese manga of substantial size?
If it's thick, if it's a thick boy, authentic Japanese manga, you're probably dropping 150.
Okay, so I paid $3 for it over there.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. I couldn't believe it. Like, I was telling Sarah Beth, like, this has got to be like $30-40 in the US.
You got to just send stuff back, like ship it back.
Well, that's what I ended up doing. Like, so we traveled light, because we were just we didn't rent a car. We were taking the railway all the way, which was awesome. Their train system is so good. And
gentlemen,
so
I would like to thank everybody, and apologies, Noble, for interrupting you.
No problem.
But I'm going to head out. All of you, a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jack.
And I hope to talk to you guys soon again.
Absolutely. We'll have you back on.
Cheers.
Later.
Cheers.
That dirty bitch.
Make him Lupo again.
Yeah. We should bring him back for the one-off whenever that happens.
Yeah, the various weeklies and monthlies are usually right around 300 yen. Some of them have gone up to like 450 yen. But if it's a 450 yen, you pay them $3, because obviously you're paying whatever their taxes are over there. Whereas me doing mail order, I'm not having to worry about that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I've seen those in comic book stores, even in like 1989, that were like, a weekly, what I would have considered at the time about 200 yen book, they were selling for like $20. Whereas at the yen rate at that time in like 1988, 89, it was closer to 100 to 1. So I'm like, I could order this for $2 plus the shipping from Japan. And here's an American comic book store selling it for $25-30.
Right.
And,
that's about what I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
like I said, if you've ever thought of doing it, like, now is a great time, because your money's going to go a long way there.
Yeah.
I mean, I had, and to your point about shipping stuff, because we were traveling so light, and I didn't want to carry a bunch of crap. But by the time we got to Osaka, we knew we were going to have to do more shopping in Thailand, because it's even cheaper in Thailand.
Yeah.
And we ended up shipping stuff like DHL or FedEx. I can't remember which one it was.
Makes sense.
But it wasn't that expensive. Like,
no, it's not.
I think I paid like $50 to ship a large box.
It's like ground shipping here. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not expensive at all. And so I'm like, okay, this is the way to go. Like, just buy all your crap and then ship it. And it made it back to the US before I did. You know, my
my
in-laws
God,
were
that's
watching the house, and they just it was already in my house when I got home. So
That's cool. So it was waiting for you when you got back. That's nice.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
like all my
that's awesome.
stuff was already here, so it was great. In fact, I'm taking a bunch of it to. I was looking for stuff that I could get for the whole family because I'm having a family reunion. Literally, I'm flying down there tomorrow to Waco, where the whole
sure.
family's going to be together. I got 5 siblings, so I got an ass load of nieces and nephews that are going to be out there, and my parents and everything. And I bought everybody chopsticks in Japan, so I have this like big
that's awesome.
bundle of chopsticks. So
Nice.
between that and then the Cuban cigars I picked up when I was in Paris, I've got a huge suitcase full of crap I'm taking to Waco.
That's great.
I was gonna say, if you can make the little road trip a couple hours north, let me know.
Hey man, if I wish I could. I've got a lot of friends in the Texas area, whether it's Fort Worth, Waco, Austin, Houston. But we are going to be so booked for the 4 days that we're down there. It's, you know, but yeah, we'd definitely love to meet up sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm on my last
definitely need to
shift
plan
until
something.
Friday.
You're what with who?
I said I'm on my last shift until Friday. I get
Oh,
tomorrow
okay.
and Thursday off, and then I got work the weekend.
Gotcha.
I'm inside a data center right now.
That's what I
Nice.
figured.
What are you doing there? Just
I am
babysitting?
lead critical facilities operator for this shift.
So it's your job to run and swap a hard drive out if it crashes or something?
No, I do the bastard Reddit stepchild background work. I'm the guy that's like, I monitor the HVAC and the power.
Oh, okay. No, that's super important actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Very
I did data center work years ago. I was one of the more tedious jobs I did was I was a back before they had all the automated tape systems. I was a tape jockey for the backups
I
And,
remember
you
doing
did
that
that.
shit. That was a pain in the
Yeah.
ass.
at a McDonnell
Right.
Douglas plant.
Oh man.
Our IT staff is so low. We have to do tape rotations. Like they'll take care of the getting rid of the old tapes and get them ready to ship on Tuesdays, and then on Saturday, my department actually hands the tapes off to get
Ah.
recycled. So
Yeah.
we help out with the tape rotation.
Yeah, no, I did that for a while, and then moved up to doing desktop support, and then server admin, and now I'm a glorified manager, basically a technical delivery manager.
I used to work at a courier service in my youth, and one of the things I would transport were the big computer tape reels and punch cards
Nice.
with with data on them and stuff from various facilities or from like banking hubs and stuff like that. So
Dinosaur.
cool.
Computer. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's old school stuff.
yeah, you experience some stuff when you get past that half century mark.
Yeah,
Especially those of us who were born in the old world.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I just touched 50 this year, so I can understand that.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
yeah.
I
My
gotta
say-
AARP card should be here any minute now.
Yeah.
It's on the way. Robert and I are dangerously close to that shit,
Oh yeah. Very.
which I refuse. I staunchly refuse to be a part of that crap.
I won't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
That's all
Same
I'm
here.
Doing that
And
shit.
you got to take advantage of that senior citizens discount at the diners.
No, they can have their 10%.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
need the money.
I do
Yeah.
not know. I'm going to walk around as a young man internally and have my dignity intact.
Exactly.
Exactly.
My pride's worth more than 10%. Hell of a lot
Seriously.
more.
It's not actually worth any money, to be honest with
Plus-
you. So.
Plus, I've seen pictures of the asses that Noble and Vince have been spanking, so they've got that to keep them young. So
Hey
You
man.
guys
Oh
give
yeah.
me-
to you, Sarah Beth.
Yeah, they
It's important.
that's a nice I get older and they stay the same age, you know.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. Yes. So what's everyone doing for? Well, we know what Noble's doing tomorrow. He's on a road
Yeah,
trip.
I'm gonna be flying on Christmas. That'll be
Oh my God! Yeah,
Interesting.
I didn't think about that until now. Yeah, that sucks actually.
It was actually there was
Go with God.
less traffic tomorrow than there would be today or the day after. So
yeah. Of the 3
um,
days, he's actually picking the better the travel days. Believe it or
yeah.
not.
So
The day
we're
of
just
is
gonna
probably
roll the
best.
dice and see how it goes.
I was actually surprised on my way into work this evening because Dallas traffic is just shit, and it was empty. I'm like, holy shit! I can do 70, 80 on 635. This is amazing.
Yeah,
Right.
those exits on the major interstates in the Dallas area are kind of crazy. I mean, one, the roads are like 30 feet, 40 feet up in the air, it seems. And then you exit on the left to go right. and vice versa. You exit on the right to go left, and you do these big loops and then go down to the underneath roads or the over roads. And it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's one flyover that always gets me nervous when I'm on the bike, and that's the 635 onto US 75
Yeah.
north. That flyover is like 80 feet in the air.
Yeah, it's those roads in the Dallas area are crazy. I had a girlfriend down there at one point in time that she actually would fly me down there. I often is not first class to for weekends and stuff like that. So go to different concerts and things. So pretty interesting experience. Of course, I'm almost to the point now where I have to fly first class because if I cannot get alcohol after being sexually assaulted by TSA before I get on the airplane, it's
Oh yeah.
not worth it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't fly beyond class anymore when I do.
yeah. I
I'm
don't
still
know how
Happy
clear he
Airlines.
can do it. Yeah, Cappy and his Spirit Chicken Wire Express flight.
The Chicken Coop Express, yes.
Yeah.
Get stranded in the Philippines.
Mhm.
Have to call our friend that lives in Japan to come bail him out.
Right. That whole debacle was very funny.
Yeah.
But
I got a rib roast that's doing a dry marinade in the fridge right now. I got to take it out when I get home, let it get up to room temp. Then I'm gonna do the slow and low treatment.
oh, okay.
Nice.
That sounds good.
That's proper for a Texas boy.
Yeah.
Right.
And then finish off 30 minutes, 450, 500 degree broil, but pull it out every 5 minutes to baste it.
There you go. It sounds really. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
Sounds really good, actually.
Well, the deal with the kid is if he wakes up early, that's fine and dandy, but dad's not getting up before 9:00. And then have myself a cup of coffee and watch him open his presents from his mother and I, and his brother's coming over to see him, and spend a little bit of Christmas with him. And then I'll believe Santa will be here tonight to drop off some stuff for him and
eat cookies and drink milk.
Yeah. Well, it should go well with the Bailey's Irish cream I was having. So
I'll tell you, I'm drinking the last of my cherry vermouth from Gettysburg.
yeah, I saw you posted a picture on Twitter that you were having that. How is that?
It's really smooth. It's 23%.
Okay.
But you don't taste it. The fruit really cuts it. The cherry.
Yeah.
They did a really.
Is that the mead you bought?
No, it's
What?
vermouth.
It's vermouth. That the place we were at, the Plowman, the cider place.
Oh yeah.
We had. I don't know if you did, but I think TJ and I had a small glass.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
Of the vermouth, and I remembered that. And after I had a hot cider with bourbon, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have this vermouth again, and I enjoyed it again. And I said, I'm getting a bottle of this, so it came home with me.
Nice. Yeah, I just had their in-house cider, non-alcoholic, hot, and it was actually really good.
Yeah, they do a good job with the cider. So, but yeah, it was a good trip. The best part of it was the being on Little Round Top. I was talking with Robert about this. Being on Little Round Top, looking down Devil's Den, and the snow coming down, and just nobody out there. Just quiet, cold as hell. I think it had to be like 17 degrees, but it was pretty cool. I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah, so when me, you, and TJ went to Round Top, it was like there was a tour going on.
It was warm as hell. Yeah, it was for November. It was warm. I think we had on light jackets, maybe sweatshirts, and there were tours. There was nobody out. In fact, the town overall, because I've been there before in December, and it's been busier for some reason this season. Maybe it was because it was closer to Christmas than usual than when I go. There weren't too many tourists lingering about, and the town wasn't empty, but it wasn't as busy as usual.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to go back out there again. That was a fun trip.
Yeah, that was a great trip. We'll probably do it again. The house is a good house to bivouac in.
I was already looking at Airbnbs in case we ever do, like, as I mentioned, like doing like a Galveston trip and going over to the USS Texas.
Oh yeah.
Dude, you can get some Airbnbs down in Galveston for dirt ass cheap.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. Like how many bedrooms?
Party houses, like 4 to 6 bedroom houses for like.
Oh, nice.
For like I think for 6 days it's like $1,200.
That's not bad. That's really good.
These are like massive, like 3,000 to 4,000 square foot houses.
That sounds really good, actually. Yeah, it'd be a good trip. Have I ever? I think I've flown into Texas Airport, but I've never actually been to Texas and hung out.
Man, you're gonna let Cappy beat you on that?
I don't really care about him. No, he's cool. No, I don't. That's whatever. I mean, I'm not the wandering idiot that he is.
There's some really good restaurants in Texas, specifically in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A place called Babe's Chicken that's really good. The sides are every bit as good as the chicken.
The best, I think some of the best food here is actually out of the food trucks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that they've got really good food trucks down there too. Those weren't quite as prevalent the last time I was down there, but they were there. But there are so many good restaurants to eat at. It was hard to get to everywhere because I can't just constantly eat. Not like I could when I was 16, 17, and 18, and I could eat like 3 to 5 Big Macs and a couple orders of fries and a couple shakes and still weighed like 120 pounds. It's
yeah. No, they're so prevalent down here now that Perot Museum actually does a thing on Thursdays with food and alcohol trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. Alcohol trucks. I like that idea.
Yeah, we have drive-through alcohol here.
Yeah, they do in Ohio as well.
What?
Yeah, they have drive-through liquor stores in Ohio.
How does that work?
You just
they have them here in Arizona too.
Like a food drive-through.
Yeah. You like drive literally through the middle of a liquor store in some cases and say, yeah, this is what I want, and they give it to you.
I had no idea. This is completely.
They even have drive-through margaritas, frozen margarita stores now.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Yeah, some parts of America is still America.
They need to bring back drinking and driving. That's what needs to happen. Jesus,
come to Texas. My former roommate would always leave my house with a freaking Miller Lite open in his Mustang.
Jesus, it's definitely the 80s.
He should have been in the 80s. That guy.
Yeah. Fuck, that's cool.
3 kids, 3 baby mamas.
Oh God.
Driving a Mustang, Miller Lite in the cup holder.
What a cliche.
Was he in the Army?
Yes, he was in the Army.
You called it.
That explains it.
Yeah.
He actually got court-martialed out for when he was
drinking
a specialist for beating the crap out of his sergeant.
Oh damn.
That sounds about right.
Christ.
I can say that after 8 years, I was honorably discharged.
See, we used to want to keep guys like that in the Army.
Yeah.
You know? Like, okay, that guy's a hard ass. We need him to go fight somebody else.
Right.
Sure.
Now
this is post 9/11 Army, so
Yeah, I know it's gotten soft.
Oh,
even
it has.
my time in the Navy, from 07 to 14, I watched it get softer.
Yeah, I believe it.
Well, I had a cousin that went through the Army in late 90s, early 2000s, and I could not believe they could actually, if things got too intense during basic training, they could basically call a timeout. And I'm like, what the F? It's like, there's no timeout. If you're in combat, you can't, like, dudes,
Stop shooting at
this
me.
firefight's getting too intense, man. Give me 5 minutes.
Me.
I need to take my Adderall and then I'll be okay. It's like,
I need to say my prayers to my waifu anime comic.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Oh, it is. Of course, now they wouldn't. Well, even then, they didn't want any older farts to come back in, even with previous military experience, because they're like, we can tell stupid teenagers to do stupid stuff, and more often than not, they'll do it. But you old fucks in your 30s and 40s, if we tell you shit that's stupid, you'll look at us like, F you. I had my dad's father, so I guess my step grandfather. Anyway, he was in the Army during World War II, and I guess he had been promoted and busted from sergeant like 3 or 4 different times. And the man has like a couple silver stars and unit citations and a bunch of other stuff, but and was a machine gunner throughout the entirety of the war. But he had some lieutenant that came and was trying to tell him, if you do this, you're going to get yourself a medal. And he's like, Lieutenant, medals are so goddamn important to you. You go do it. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like the old man I knew. But yeah.
Oh yeah, like I went to a few submarine balls, and you always knew who like the cool guys were, as far as like the upper ranks go, because in the Navy, when you're in your dress blues, you have little service marks on your sleeve.
Yeah, hash marks. Yeah,
Every 4 years you get one of those, and if you go 12 years without a non-judicial punishment or a court martial, you go to gold stripes. You'd see these guys who are like E7, E8, and E9s are like 6, 7 service stripes, and they're still red. It's like, what'd you do? You got some stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to one naval birthday ball when I was, probably early teens, because I was in Naval Sea Cadets. And so we got asked to go and perform some duties at the ball, basically usher type duties or doorman type duties, things like that. So, I got to help admirals' wives out of their cars and, hold doors for admirals and stuff like that. So, I mean, but it was, I didn't have to do it the entire night. I only had to do it for like an hour, and then I got to enjoy the ball the rest of the evening. So there were a couple rather cute female petty officers that this teenage cadet got to dance with. So that was, it made my evening worth it. And of course I had some old salty chiefs trying to help me earn my my stripes, so to say. And they were like, yeah, you need to go ask her to dance. So anyway, it was kind of a fun, memorable evening, but that Navy sadly is long gone, because I think that was right around the transition period when they started making petty officers were no longer allowed to have beards. So when they made all the chiefs shave off their beards and stuff, I'm like, the Navy lost something there. Because
and then they had that tailhook scandal that really killed them.
Yeah. But
it was no fun after
that.
No.
It's like also with the USS Forrestal fire. You ever watch the videos on that? The guy jumping off the F-4 Phantom that gets hit by the missile. That's Senator McCain.
Oh shit!
Jumping out of the jet.
Jesus.
And that's when the Navy went drug free.
Crazy.
Indeed.
One of the worst fires on an aircraft carrier post World War II.
Yeah, we actually watched video of that when I was at Great Lakes going through basic training for the Navy. as a Sea Cadet during our firefighter training. We watched that video and stuff before going out to the field to do all the various compartment fires from overhead, tank fires, etc., etc. So it was got to go through the smokehouse, all that. Did you go to Great Lakes for basic, AJ?
Yeah, I went through Great Lakes for basic, and then Charleston for A school, power school prototype, and then spent my career at Bangor and Bremerton up in Washington. Did like all my advanced firefighter training and everything up there.
Yeah, so I still have memories of walking through the compartment fire where they set the diesel on fire and then seal the hatches on both end of it, and you're in a line holding the belt of the guy in front of you. The guy behind you is holding your belt, and you're walking through this compartment, and you literally can't see anything other than the glow of the fire through the haze of the smoke. And you have to hold on to the line and hold on to the guy in front of you and walk from one hatch to the other, and then pound on the hatch, and then recite your name and unit and so on and so forth for the guy on the other side of the hatch to open it up and let you out. And that was a friggin' nightmare. I was belching smoke like a dragon for like the next couple of hours. It was just absolutely insane, because before you enter the hatch, for you guys who don't know what this experience is like, you can't just hold your breath, because they make you shout out your like name, rank, serial number as you walk into the hatch. So you expel all the oxygen out of your lungs. So the first time you intake any air is inside the smoke-filled compartment.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like when I was going through advanced firefighter up in TTF Bangor, they would preheat the room to 700 degrees.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Then you'd go in, and then they shut off all the lights. Can't see stuff, and then they're fucking popping off different types of fires left and right, and you got to figure out which fire it is and how to put it out real fast.
Right. Whether you can use water, you have to use chemical or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
CO2.
Fortunately, I never had to do any of that. It was just all the basic stuff that all sailors have to know, because obviously when your ship catches on fire, you can't just step outside and wait for someone to come and put it out. It's kind of an all hands on deck situation.
Or in my case, being a submarine, there's no escape.
Yeah.
Fire is probably worse than flooding.
Oh yeah. Well,
They both suck.
Well, yeah. Well, amongst other things, it changes pressure and everything else within the submersible, and yeah, there's just no good that comes out of that.
And I saw a few fires actually out to sea on board. People go nuts.
Yeah. Well, it's scary. It's scary stuff. We actually, during training, we had a hose explode on us.
Shit.
And but I was real lucky. It's like despite it happening, there was the initial shock where a couple of us like jumped from the sound of it, and then the water spraying out, and but we all like remembered to fall on the hose instead of just letting it go, so that big brass coupling on the end isn't flailing around in the air under all the psi's of water shooting out. Which we weren't, of course, this was training, so we weren't under like the max capacity PSIs, but
we had our fire main set to 90 pounds.
So anyway, it was an interesting experience. Of course, a lot of my close friends, there were a couple who grew up with me and did military stuff with me. Sadly, some of them went into the military and never came out. Then I've got this whole other group of friends that are like, you don't like being told what to do. How the hell did you spend time in the military? It's like,
yeah.
Well, I was always AWOL for every time I was promoted. So, I still got promoted.
See, in my second or final patrol with the Jackson, we were underway for Christmas. It was when we went to Ketchikan, Alaska, and my section did like a Secret Santa underway kind of thing, and it was hilarious. I ended up getting the guy made it out of like mop head, toilet paper rolls, and like plastic bag. He ended up making me a sex doll.
There you go.
And like the captain happened to be walking down into interim lower level where the mechanic was making the gift right when he was doing it. And got put on formality watch.
Oh gosh,
it was hilarious.
Now, did you have females on your sub?
No, I got out right as they were starting to phase them in. when I was getting out, I want to say it was the Maine and Ohio had female chops, which are, we call them supply officer, or we call it the supply officer chop because their insignia looks like a pork chop.
Right.
So they had female chops then, and they were slowly phasing in the first female actual line officers on board. Like, I think it was that same patrol. Was that same patrol? Or no, it was the other patrol that I'm thinking of. We had female midshipmen come on board who were going through the academy to become line officers for submarines.
Okay.
And it was actually kind of funny because we were doing a drill back there in the engine room, and they're all watching. And I was the reactor technician, so I was the junior RC div guy on watch. And it was a reactor control specific drill. And I'm like yelling, make a hole, because I'm trying to do all my immediate actions. And they don't get out of the way. So I just barrel right through like 3 girls. So I'm just like, get the fuck out of my way. And they get all mad. My my EDMC, who's the senior enlisted for the engine room, is back there right there during it. And they're like, EDMC, are you going to correct your petty officer? He's like, didn't he tell you to make a hole? Yeah. Well, get the fuck out of his way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I was glad I got out before the females on subs game.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
That week I couldn't sleep because they were in the next bunk room over. So like everyone, we haven't seen women in like 60, 70 days at this point. And so everyone is simping for these girls. It's just like, dude, I need to sleep. I need to go back to the entry room. I got drills to do. I got watch to stand, all this other shit.
I think the only time I've ever gotten yelled at by an officer in my entire military career was a female second lieutenant. And that's because she literally, I knew more playing Army as a little boy with my buddies in the neighborhood about tactics and strategy on field operations than this female second lieutenant did. And so I spent most of 2 nights on night ops correcting her, making suggestions to her, and everything else, and they still screwed stuff up. It was just a joke, and I finally just had enough of it, and I was venting to one of the senior enlisted about, let me do anything else, please, because this is just, it's a clusterfuck, and I do not want to be any further a part of it. And so she overheard me, and so she came and started trying to chew my ass about being disrespectful and so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, if this is a silly games you want to play, I just absolute cold as ice. Yes, ma'am, salute. And I walked off and did my thing. And she spent the rest of those couple of weeks trying to, like, you know, make it up to me. And it's like, I'm not playing your games. I'm not dating you. I'm not in a relationship with you. I've done what was my duty. And now I am manning the company's radios in the CP. And it's like, that's my job. And that's what I'm doing. And we're done. You know, you come in to make a report. That's fine. You do that. I'm the radio operator. If your business does not involve giving orders over the radio or taking orders off the radio, then you're just a distraction to my job. And you know, the sad part is I was an aircraft mechanic and a crew chief, so I should have been working on aircraft, but there was a mix up with that, and our birds weren't there. Our Cobras were actually on operations somewhere else, and the maintenance guys for our aircraft were in a different place. So we had to like make ourselves disappear during operational hours, or else get put on crap details and stuff. So I usually had a bad habit of getting picked to be on the Op 4 and assist whoever the aggressor forces were doing operations stuff. So, and that's what I was doing, and that's how I ended up with that female second lieutenant. And finally, a buddy of mine was in the command post. He'd gotten duty that day, and so the radio guy, who was like the actual unit communications radio guy, had somehow or another gotten KP that day. So he was trying to do both, and even then, I had done stuff in radio and broadcasting, so I would use like the radio voice, but with the military code procedure as far as operating a field radio. And so the first sergeant and CO found me in here, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And I explained what was going on, and that their commo guy was on KP, and so I was assisting one of the guys from my unit who had drawn basically desk duty that day, and they're like, "You're really good at this." And it's like, "You want to do this the rest of the time we're out here?" And it's like, "Sure." So needless to say, the communications guy was like PO'd at me because he's like, "So now I've got to go hide." It's like, good luck, better you than me. So it was gravy duty. So I was
nice.
Yeah,
that's one thing the military does for you is it does teach you how to become a professional hide and go seeker.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it was fun because one of the evenings, the CO for our unit was going to go out on, with the Op 4 guys to attack our company. So he had requisitioned 4 M60 machine guns from supply, and he's like, "You're on the machine gun team. It's like, why don't you give us a refresher on how to load and operate?" And of course, they were going to have the Miles gear on it and blanks and everything else. But how do you do this? How do we load this? How do we clear it? And I'm like, "Sure." And then we get the 460s, and they're set up with the butterfly grips to be mounted in a Huey gunship, not the pistol grip like an infantry unit would have. So I'm like, "You're going to run around the woods with these butterfly grips, and also because they're on the aircraft, you don't need the front handguard over the barrel, so you've got this whole full exposed barrel that gets hot the more it's used." And I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be a joke." And it was. And it's like, doesn't supply have the pistol grips for these? And they're like, "No, these were always set up to be mounted in an aircraft exclusively, and they didn't bring the other 60s with them, or these had been modified for the aircraft that weren't there." And so they didn't have the pistol grips with them, or didn't want to go to the bother of swapping them out, which isn't that big of a deal. I could have done it. But so, yeah, military is an interesting place to be.
Yeah, I'm seeing Arrow's comment right there about the cigarette. Yeah, they used to go for a lot of money before they banned smoking on submarines.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got most of my quals done, was trading cigarettes for signatures.
Yeah.
Form of currency.
Yeah, well, like the surface ships, they have supply runs all the time. They have ship stores. Submarines, we don't have that luxury. So we bring enough tobacco with us to hopefully last us the entire underway, or until at least halfway night when we know we're going to package drop.
So
that
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they banned smoking. It was that day.
Tell you what, cigarettes, coffee, and alcohol got a lot of soldiers through a lot of nasty times. Same with sailors too, and Marines, and screw the airmen. They're friggin' they're in a white collar job. Those Air Force bastards. So,
cool.
In fact, the Air Force, the only military uniform I have not worn was Air Force. Obviously, I was in the Army. I was in Marine Junior ROTC, so I went through basic training down at Parris Island for Marine basic training. I went to Naval basic training in Naval Sea Cadets, which my Naval Sea Cadet basic training was absolutely no different than what a buddy of mine went through like 2 years later as an 18-year-old. I did it in like 1 or 2 weeks less than he did. But as far as the intensity level and stuff, it was the same stuff. And I did it when I was like 13.
Naval boot camp's kind of a joke.
Well, Naval boot camp, a lot of it is staying awake during the classes because it is very class intensive.
Yeah.
which is very different than the Marine Corps and the Army, which both have classes, but have a lot
physical,
tremendous physical requirement as far as,
which makes sense, really.
Yeah. And then I got to fly with the Coast Guard, so I actually was wearing a Coast Guard flight suit. so I've even worn a Coast Guard uniform when I've flown with them. So, and that's the only aircraft I had that possibly could have crashed because we had a compressor stall on one of the engines. But fortunately, all maritime military aircraft, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard operate with 2 engines. So even though we lost one, we still had an operational engine so that we could make a safe return to base. But it cut short my my flight, which was a bummer because Coast Guard Dolphin helicopters are really, really nice, especially compared to OH-38s or OH-58s and even Hueys. Although Hueys are a very sweet ride, very smooth ride, but they're not quite as luxurious and air conditioned and everything else as some of these Coast Guard and Navy helicopters. So,
indeed. All right, gentlemen, we are almost at the hour-and-a-half mark. And it's getting late here on the East Coast. The best coast is the East Coast. So tomorrow is indeed Christmas. Some of us are traveling. Some of us are sleeping in. And some of us are getting up early. So, or some are working, yes. Everyone in the chat, I haven't really been monitoring the chat too well, but everyone in the chat, thank you for joining us. Everyone listening on Twitter, thank you as well. Make sure you head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe if you have not already.
Wondering if Chris and I have the same grandfather or step-grandfather since he was busted and promoted from sergeant 3 or 4 times. And both of us have the same grandfather.
I mean, that happened to my grandfather, so I don't know. He was in the Marines in the Pacific.
Same thing in the
Navy. It's like it's a standard thing that our grandparents did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It runs.
My dad's brother was a SEAL, and he got busted down a few times, up and down a few times. So it's a common trope.
Cool. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me, you guys. It's been a pleasure to talk and converse and hang out for a little bit. I'm raising my glass, although you can't see it because everything's focused on my living room. So I raise a glass to you all and everyone
Merry Christmas, fellas.
Merry Christmas.
Noble,
safe,
AJ Vince.
Merry Christmas.
You as well, all you guys, and safe travels wherever you guys go tomorrow. Noble,
Yeah,
you in your flight. Have a safe flight.
Merry Christmas to everybody out in the chat. Appreciate you joining us.
Indeed. And some housekeeping real fast. Our next game will be, what did we say? The third? No, the hell.
Drew or Rollo?
Rawls, we have no idea because he never answered one of my last messages.
Okay.
Jesse cannot play on the. I said the third. I said January 4th, but I meant the 3rd. So I asked Rollo what other Fridays in January was good, and he hasn't got back to me yet. So Rawls is on the back burner for now, and I think
the 8th for Drew. I think you said.
I think we're doing the 8th for Drew. In fact, I think I set it up in StreamYard and YouTube already. So Drew's game. Now we're at the 6-month mark.
Yeah.
Drew's game will be. Drew's game will be next year. Technically. So January 2025, January 8th, 2025 at 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll be returning to Drew Bay's campaign, homegrown campaign. So make sure you tune in for that. All right, everyone, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you on the 8th.